strangest part of their travels began. Very soon, the open sea which they were leaving was only a thin rim of blue on the western horizon. Whiteness, shot with faintest color of gold, spread round them on every side, except just astern, where their passage had thrust the lilies apart and left an open line of water that shone like dark green glass. To look at, this last sea was very like the Arctic, and if their eyes had not by now grown as strong as eagles, the sun on all that whiteness, especially at the early morning of the sun was hugest, would have been unbearable. And every evening the same whiteness made the daylight last longer. There seemed no end to the lilies. Day after day, from all those miles and leagues of flowers, there rose a smell which Lucy found it very hard to describe. Sweet, yes, but not at all sleepy or overpowering. A fresh, wild, lonely smell that seemed to get into your brain and make you feel that you could go up mountains and run or wrestle with an elephant. She and Caspian said to one another, "I feel that I can't stand much more of this, yet I don't want it to stop." They took surroundings very often, but it was only several days later that the water became shallower. After that, it went on getting shallower. There came a day when they had to row out of the current and feel their way forward at a snail's pace, rowing as soon as it was clear that the John Treader could sail no further east. Indeed, it was only by very clever handling that they saved her from grounding. "Lower the boats," cried Caspian, "and then call the men aft. I must speak to them." "What's he going to do?" whispered Eustace to Edmund. "There's a queer look in his eyes." "I think we all probably all look the same," said Edmund. They joined Caspian on the poop, and soon all the men were crowded together at the foot of the ladder to hear the king's speech. "Friends," said Caspian, "we have now fulfilled the quest on which you embarked. The 7 lords are all accounted for, and as Sir Reepicheep has sworn never to return, when you reach Romandu's land, you will doubtless find the lords Revelin, Orgaz, and Mavremorn awake. To you, my lord Drinian, I entrust this ship, bidding you sail to Narnia with all the speed you may, and above all not to land on the island of Deathwater, and instruct my regent, the dwarf Trumpkin, to give to all these my shipmates the rewards I promised to them. They have earned well, and if I come not again, it is my will that the regent and Master Cornelius and Truffle Hunter the Badger and the Lord Drinian choose a king of Narnia with the consent." "But sire," interrupted Drinian, "are you abdicating?" "I am going with Reepicheep to see the world's end," said Caspian. A low murmur of dismay ran through the sailors. "We will take the boat," said Caspian. "You will have no need of it in these gentle seas, and you must build a new one on Romandu's island. And now—" "Caspian," said Edmund suddenly and sternly, "you can't do this." "Most certainly," said Reepicheep. "His Majesty cannot." "No, indeed," said Drinian. "Can't?" said Caspian sharply, looking for a moment not unlike his uncle Miraz. "Begging your Majesty's pardon," said Rhina from the deck below. "But if one of us did the same, it would be called deserting." "You presume too much of your long service, Rhinelf," said Caspian. "No, sire, he's perfectly right," said Drinian. "By the main of Aslan," said Caspian, "I had thought you were all my subjects here, not my schoolmasters." "I'm not," said Edmund, "and I say you cannot do this." "Can't again," said Caspian. "What do you mean?" "If it please your Majesty, we mean shall not," said Reepicheep, with a very low bow. "You are the king of Narnia. You break faith with all your subjects, and especially with Trumpkin, if you do not return. You shall not please yourself with adventures as if you were a private person, and if your Majesty will not hear reason, it will be truest loyalty of every man on board to follow me in the dismarrying and binding you till you come to your senses." "Quite right," said Edmund, "like they did with Ulysses when he wanted to go near the Sirens." Caspian's hand had gone to his sword hilt when Lucy said, "And you've almost promised Romandu's daughter to go back." Caspian paused. "Well, yes, there is that," he said. He stood irresolute for a moment, and then shouted to the ship in general, "Well, have your way. The quest is ended. We all return. Get the boat up again." "Sire," said Reepicheep, "we do not all return. As I explained before—" "Silence," thundered Caspian. I've been lessoned, but I'll not be baited. Will no one silence that mouse? Your Majesty promised, said Reepicheep, to be good lord to the talking beasts of Narnia. Talking beasts, yes, said Caspian. I said nothing about beasts that never stop talking. And he flung down the ladder in a temper and went into the cabin, slamming the door. But when the others rejoined him a little later, they found him changed. He was white, and there were tears in his eyes. It's no good, he said. I might as well have behaved decently for all the good I did with my temper and swagger. Aslan has spoken to me. No, I don't mean he was actually here. He wouldn't fit into the cabin, for one thing. But that gold lion's head on the wall came to life and spoke to me. It was terrible. His eyes. Not that he was at all rough with me, only a bit stern at first. But it was terrible all the same. He said, I can't bear it. The worst thing he could have said. You're to go on, Reep, and Edmund, and Lucy, and Eustace, and I'm to go back, alone, and at once. And what is the good of anything? Caspian, dear, said Lucy, you knew we'd have to go back to our own world sooner or later. Yes, said Caspian with a sob, but this is sooner. You'll feel better when you get back to Ramandu's Island, said Lucy. He cheered up a little later on, but it was a grievous parting on both sides, and I will not dwell on it. About 2 o'clock in the afternoon, well victualled and watered, though they thought they would need neither food nor drink, and with Reepicheep's coracle on board, the boat pulled away at the Dawn Treader. Thank you, Cleo. To row through the endless carpet of lilies. The Dawn Treader flew all her flags and hung out her shields in honor of their departure. Tall and big and homelike, she looked from their low position with the lilies all around them, and even before she was out of sight, they saw her turn and begin rowing slowly westward. Yet though Lucy shed a few tears, she could not feel it as much as you might have expected. The light, the silence, the tingling smell of the silver sea, even, in some odd way, the loneliness itself were too exciting. There was no need to row, for the current drifted them steadily to the east. None of them slept or ate. All that night and all next day they glided eastward, and when the third day dawned, and the brightness you or I could not bear even if we had dark glasses on, they saw a wonder ahead. It was as if the wall stood up between them and the sky, a greenish-gray, trembling, shimmering wall. Then up came the sun, and at first rising they saw it through the wall. It turned into wonderful rainbow colors. Then they knew what the wall was really, a long, tall wave, a wave endlessly fixed in one place, as you may often see at the edge of a waterfall. It seemed to be about 30 feet high, and the current was gliding them swiftly toward it. You might have supposed they would have thought of their danger. They didn't. I don't think anyone could have in their position, for now they saw something not only behind the wave, but behind the sun. They could not have seen even the sun if their eyes had not been strengthened by the water of the last sea. But now they could look at the rising sun and see it clearly and see things beyond it. What they saw eastward, beyond the sun, was a range of mountains. It was so high that either they never saw the top of it or they forgot it. None of them remembered seeing any sky in that direction, and the mountains must really have been outside the world, for any mountains even 1/20 of that height ought to have had ice and snow on them. But these were warm and green and full of forests and waterfalls, however high you looked. And suddenly there came a breeze from the east, tossing the top of the wave into foamy shapes, and ruffling the smooth water all around them. It lasted only a second or so, but what it brought them in that second none of those 3 children would ever forget. It brought both a smell and a sound, a musical sound. Edmund and Eustace would never talk about it afterward. Lucy could only say, "It would break your heart." "Why," said I, "was it so sad?" "Sad? No," said Lucy. No one in that boat doubted that they were seeing beyond the end of the world into Aslan's country. At that moment, with a crunch, the boat ran aground. The water was too shallow now for it. "This," said Reepicheep, "is where I go on alone." They did not even try to stop him, for everything now felt as if it would have been fated or had happened before. They helped him to lower his little coracle. Then he took off his sword. "I shan't need it no more," he said, and flung it far away across the lilied sea. Where it fell, it stood upright with the hilt above the surface. Then he bade them goodbye, trying to be sad for their sakes, but he was quivering with happiness. Lucy, for the first and last time, did what she had always wanted to do, taking him in her arms and caressing him. Then hastily he got into his coracle and took his paddle, and the current caught it, and away he went, very black against the lilies. But no lilies grew on the wave. It was a smooth green slope. The coracle went more and more quickly, and beautifully it rushed up the wave's side, and for one split second they saw its shape and Reepicheep's on the very top. Then it vanished, and since that moment no one can truly claim to have seen Reepicheep the mouse. But my belief is that he came safe to Aslan's country and is alive there to this day. As the sun rose and the sight of those mountains outside the world faded away, the wave remained, but there was only blue sky behind it. The children got out of the boat and waded not toward the wave but southward, with the wall of the water on their left. They could not have told you why they did this. It was their fate, and though they had felt and been very grown up on the Dawn Treader, they now felt just the opposite, and held hands as they waded through the lilies. They never felt tired. The water was warm, and all the time it got shallower. At last they were on dry sand, and then on grass, a huge plain of fine short grass, almost level with the silver sea, and spreading in every direction without so much as a molehill. And of course, as it always does in perfectly flat place without trees, it looked as if the sky came down to meet the grass in front of them. But as they went on, they got the strangest impression that here at last the sky really did come down to join the earth. A blue wall, very bright but real and solid, more like glass than anything else, and soon they were quite sure of it. It was very near now. But between them and the foot of the sky there was something so white on the green mass that even with their eagle's eyes they could hardly look at it. They came on and saw that it was a lamb. "Come and have breakfast," said the lamb in its sweet milky voice. Then they noticed for the first time that there was a fire lit on the grass and fish roasting on it, and they sat down and ate the fish, hungry now for the first time for many days, and it was the most delicious food they have ever tasted. "Please, lamb," said Lucy, "is this the way to Aslan's country?" "Not for you," said the lamb. "For you the door into Aslan's country is from your own world." "What?" said Edmund. "Is there a way into Aslan's country from our world too?" "There is a way into my country from all the worlds," said the lamb. But as he spoke, his snowy white flushed away tawny gold, and his size changed, and he was Aslan himself, towering above them and scattering light from his mane. "Oh, Aslan," said Lucy, "will you tell us how to get to your country from your world?" I shall be telling you all the time, said Aslan, "but I will not tell you how long or short the way will be, only that it lies across a river. But do not fear that, for I am the great bridge builder. And now come, I will open the door into the sky and send you on your own land." "Please, Aslan," said Lucy, "before we go, will you tell us when we can come back to Narnia again? Please, and oh, do make it sooner." "Dearest," said Aslan very gently, "you and your brother will never come back to Narnia." "Oh, Aslan," said Edmund and Lucy both together in despairing voices. "You are too old, children," said Aslan, "and you must begin to come close to your own world now." "It isn't Narnia, you know," sobbed Lucy. "It's you. We shan't meet you there, and how can we live never meeting you?" "But you shall meet me, dear one," said Aslan. "Are you there too, sire?" said Edmund. "I am," said Aslan, "but there I have another name. You must learn to know me by that name. This Jesus, cough, cough. His name is Jesus. You must learn to know me by that name. This was the very reason why you were brought to Narnia, that by knowing me here for a little, you may know me better there." "And is Eustace never to come back here either?" said Lucy. "Child," said Aslan, "do you really need to know that? Come, I am opening the door in the sky." Then, all in one moment, there was a rendering of blue wall, like a curtain being torn, and a terrible white light from beyond the sky, and the feel of Aslan's mane and the lion's kiss on their foreheads, and then the back bedroom in Aunt Alberta's home in Cambridge. Only two more things need to be told. One is that Caspian and his men all came safely back to Ramandu's island, and that the three lords woke up from their sleep. Caspian married Ramandu's daughter, and they all reached Narnia in the end. She became a great queen, and the mother and grandmother of great kings. The other is that back in our own world, everyone soon started saying how Eustace had improved. And now, You'd never know him for the same boy, everyone except Aunt Alberta, who said he had become very commonplace and tiresome, and it must have been the influence of those Pevensey children. Boom. That is the end of the Dawn Treader. And the next book is when shit starts getting weird. We start getting crazy with it. The next book is The Silver Chair. We just have The Silver Chair and The Last Battle left.